Hey, what's up, guys? This is Ricky Haro with Connexu Ultras, and this is going to be just a preliminary brief and update on the Saguaro Showdown. As you all know, we're getting ready. We're less than a month for that. I'm super excited to meet you all, and we are going to get rocking here. So I'm going to share my screen and go through a couple points for the Saguaro Showdown here. So as we said, this is just some things to kind of get you logistically started. Just so you guys know that this is a silver ticket event. So some of you all are coming after it pretty hard. But with that said, we mirror our event as close as we possibly can to the event at Biggs or the World's Backyard Championship. So what you see here is everything that we do is going to be everything that you do to start and set up your start and finish. So for schedule of events on Friday, the 19th of January, right around 5 p.m., you can come in, you can set up your race corral, or you can set up around the race corral, the runner corral, at 5 p.m. onward. At 5 p.m. is also the time where you're going to be able to view the course. Usually I like doing 5 p.m. because you get a chance to see the course right at low light, which is a time that you typically don't see. And though for those of you that are asking for maps, Laz doesn't provide maps, and neither do we. We'd like for you to take on the dry camp approach for this. So try not to bring too many RVs and things like that in the parking lot. It's very limited inside of that particular parking lot. But we will do overnight stuff. There are park fees that need to apply. I don't know the specifics on that, but once we get about 2 weeks out, I'll know exactly what the specifics are for camp fees and what you need to do to pay once you get into the park. Um, on the 20th of January is our race day, 07 to 07:30. You can pick up packets. You can also pick up packets at 5 as well on Friday. At 7:30, there's going to be a racer crew brief in the racer corral. And I'll show you where exactly all of that stuff's going to be. And then at 8 o'clock, we start the first yard. So where we're located is going to be the Ussery Mountain Regional Park. It's over on the far east side of Phoenix. And inside of that is the Blevins Trailhead. And what you'll see here in this particular slide is really our race setup. We're going to be on the very southern part of this fairly large parking lot. What you'll see is you'll be heading out on the No-So Trail, and then you'll also be coming in on the Blevins Trail over here. So when you look at this, you're going to see a big pavilion on the south side. That's going to be the runner corral. That is also the finish line. The finish line is going to be directly underneath the pavilion. On both the north and the south sides will be porta potties set up, and you can park anywhere in this parking area that you see highlighted in that brown box. As far as ROEs for the last person standing, most of you all are coming for this particular event. This is for both the rucker and the runner yards. The course is measured. Course is going to measure out at 4 miles and 880 feet. The rucker loop's going to be somewhere between 2.3 and 2.5, depending on what your watch says. The starting corral, which is the pavilion, is going to be underneath the pavilion. And then we're going to set it up so it is measured to fit the field, and it'll be the same size throughout the rest of the time. For simplicity's sake, if you're under the pavilion, you're essentially in the runner's corral. You must be inside the corral at the start of the bell, not leaving your tent or anything along those lines. Everything starts at the top of the hour. You're going to get a 3, 2, 1 warning from me. Usually 1 minute out, I will give some race announcements or whatever it is that we need to brief in that sense, and then we'll start that yard. And then all competitors start at the bell. For those of you that aren't familiar, a yard is a loop. You can, when you're out there doing that, you can be in restrooms, but you cannot leave the course until you're finished, right? No non-competitor can be on the course, i.e. you can't sit. You send your crew out halfway so you can get aid or anything along those lines. This is a completely sole runner and rucker event, okay? You got to do this under your own free will. No artificial aids such as comms or trekking poles or things like that. And we'll kind of harp on that a little bit more in the next slide. As far as right-of-way stuff, slower runner must allow to pass. So if you are a slower runner, don't try to hog the trail. You're the one that needs to step off the trail. If you see somebody coming in from behind you, just kind of move to one side and let them come around the right-hand side. In terms of how we do our results, you're putting your DNF on the line. That's kind of the mentality we want you to take with this. The winner is the last person to complete the loop. If two racers start, but only one goes out, the racer must complete the final loop. And there can be no winners in a backyard event. Just some things to kind of clarify here. Artificial aid is going to be things like cooling vests, fans, etc., trekking poles, radios, SMS between the crews. Those are all things that while you're out there on the yard, you should be doing this under your own free will and under your own power. Crews, ideal crews are between 1 to 3 people. A lot of times they take shifts. There's plenty of parking for crews to do a quick nap in a vehicle or something like that and then come back to the runner tent. You can even, in the runner corral itself, you could set up your little 10 by 10 area to be able to set that up and kind of be geared for an overnight. Overnight camping is allowed, but it's outside of the crew area. You typically have to pay a fee, and like I said, we'll get some more clarification on that here in a little bit. The other thing that you can do is there's actual overnight camping here in the park. And there are designated campgrounds that you can set up on. So that's another thing that if you're looking to do that, you could potentially set up as well there. But when it comes to racing, ideally around the pavilion area, you can set up a 10 by 10 for your crew. And your crew can be set up for the long haul. People will, in backyard ultras, will have their little 10 by 10 areas set up. So there's camp stoves, heating elements, different things like that, big recliner chairs, all that kind of stuff. They even bring tarps to kind of make walls to help insulate during the evening. All of those things are things that you can do that you can set up all around the pavilion. But once we start the yard, you have to be underneath that pavilion. Okay, we are implementing a new event in this. This is something that Laz is given permission to do. This is what's called the Backyard 24, and it's basically a 24-hour event. There is no winner. This is all about understanding the concepts behind the Backyard Ultra without really getting into that last person standing element. So the idea is that it's just personal distance, it's personal goals to go after, and just trying to get to 24 hours. If you were to do our loop, you would get 100 miles in less than 24 hours because you'd have to complete that 96 and some change to 100 miles within that last 24-hour loop. So you essentially would be doing a sub 24 if you stuck in the whole time. You're going to be utilizing the runner loop. There's no artificial aid or outside assistance. Everything starts at the top of the hour with everybody else as well. You can also be crewed in this event, and you can think of your space as a 10 by 10. And just some mentality here when you start thinking about backyard ultras is that these events are really set up to help support the community as a whole, right? So we're going to start off with a fairly decent amount of big runners. And since this is a silver ticket, it's going to dwindle down probably to 4 to 6 runners within probably the 16 to 24-hour range. And then 24 hours on, we're only going to have a handful of people. And a lot of times their crews are going to starting to get weary as well. So I would really recommend you guys, if you do drop, go out, get some rest or leave for a little bit, get some rest, come back and help support the other runners that are going to be out there. Like I said, this is just the first of several video briefings that we'll get into, but I just wanted to get this out so you all have an idea of what you're looking at and some of the logistics that's in play. And then as we get more details from the permitting agencies around different park fees that you're going to be responsible for and things like that, we'll get those pushed out in the next couple of weeks. Like I said, if you have any questions, you can hit us up at info or you can hit us up at KinixuUltras@gmail.com and we'll get some questions answered in that sense as well. We'll also push some feedback in an FAQ in our next update. Other than that, talk to y'all later.